It is shifa. And so this is why in the next section, Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah says, اشتمال الفاتحة على الشفاءين شفاء القلوب وشفاء الأبدان. Al-Fatihah comprises two types of cures. The cure for the hearts and the cure for the bodies. The cure for the hearts and the cure for the bodies. So he begins by saying, فَأَمَّا اشْتِمَالُهَا عَلَى شِفَاءِ الْقُلُوبِ فَإِنَّهَا اشْتَمَلَتْ عَلَيْهِ أَتَمَّ اشْتِمَالٍ فَإِنَّ مدار اعتلال القلوب وأسقامها على أصلين فساد العلم وفساد القصد. So he says, as for this issue, as for Al-Fatihah comprising the healing of the hearts. So we start with the heart, because the heart is the king of the body. He said, Al-Fatihah comprises cure for the hearts in the most complete of ways. And this is because when we look at how the heart can be sick, how can the heart be ill, how can it be sick, what does it return to? It returns to two principles, right? So the sick heart, the diseased heart, the heart which is ailing, all of that will come back down to two principles, two things. It is either the corruption in knowledge, fasad al-ilm, or it is the corruption in the qasd, the intent, the desire. Then he says, وَيَتَرَتَّبُ عَلَيْهِمَا دَاءً قَاتِلًا. From these two things, which is the corruption in knowledge and the corruption in intent, out of that, so when the heart becomes corrupt in these two ways, then there are two diseases, fatal diseases. These are diseases that can kill the heart, right? Just like there are fatal diseases to the body which will kill the body, then these are fatal diseases which can eventually, they can kill the heart. He says, وَهُمَا الضَّلَالِ وَالْغَضَبِ. الضَّلَالِ وَالْغَضَبِ. So what are these two fatal diseases? It is al-dalal, which is misguidance, and it is al-ghadab, which is anger. So he says, فَالضَّلَالِ نَتِيجَةُ فَسَادِ الْعِلْمِ. So misguidance is a result of the corruption in knowledge. So in ilm, there is some corruption. وَالْغَضَبِ نَتِيجَةُ فَسَادِ الْقَصْدِ. And as for anger, then it is the result of the corruption of the intent, a person's qasd, his desire, his intent. وهذان المرضان هما ملاك أمراض القلوب ملاك أمراض القلوب جميعها. And these two particular diseases, which is al-dalal and al-ghadab, they are the foundation and the basis for all of the diseases of the hearts, right? So there are many diseases of the hearts. Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he has a risala, Amradul Qulub wa Shifa'uha, and in there he lists many of the types of diseases which are mentioned in the Quran. From them is, he mentions from them, al-jahl obviously is a disease of the heart. Al-jahl, it is considered a disease of the heart. The absence of knowledge, just like in the body, the absence of nutrition, just like Ibn Taymiyyah explains in the same risala, the absence of the right nutrition will lead to the disease of the body. The body will be diseased. In the same way, the absence of sound knowledge, then that will be a disease, which is jahl. Likewise, al-hawa, which is following desires, is a disease of the heart. Ash-shuh is being covetous, coveting what is with other people of possessions and wealth, and this is a disease of the heart. Al-bukhl, which is stinginess, miserliness. This is a type of disease of the heart as well. If you think about these individual diseases, what do they return back to? You see, they go back to corruption in knowledge, Likewise, al-hasad, for example, al-hasad, it is a corruption in knowledge and it is a corruption in intent. Because, first of all, a corruption in knowledge is because you should realize that everything is by Allah's decree. Allah gives to whomever He wills. He favors some, He disfavors others. He expands the rizq for some, He restricts it for others, all because of wisdoms that He knows. So, for you just to be envious of someone else, this now is a corruption in knowledge. And then for you to want for that goodness, for it to end in that person, you want the ni'mah to end, this now is corruption in the qasd, right? So these two foundational diseases of the heart, from them spring all the other diseases of the heart as well. So we mentioned some al-jahl, al-hawa, al-shuh, al-bukhl, al-hasad, al-shahwa, which is lusts and desires, al-ishq, which is infatuation, like infatuation. And there is al-gham, which is grief and anxiety. Grief where you are filled with grief because of some calamity, some hardship which you couldn't get over, because of lack of iman, lack of tawakkul, lack of certainty in belief in al-qadar. Likewise, he mentions also al-ghayz. Al-ghayz is a type of rage that has to be extinguished. An example would be when someone's family member is killed, for example, right? There's ghayz, there's rage inside that family's relatives. And so the Sharia has come to satisfy that rage. And that's why from the treatments of that is to allow retribution, the law of retribution, right? That you can have that person killed in retribution to remove that ghayz, which otherwise would remain as a disease of the heart and lead to other things, right? So the Sharia has come to channel these things which exist in the heart, whether it's shahwa, whether it is ghadab, whether it is other things. Then in fact this is something that will be covered in later lessons. Ibn al-Qayyim gives a beautiful example, a similitude, to show how the Sharia comes and it takes things which Allah has put in a man, which is shahwa and ghadab and other things which are raging, fiery, which can be acted upon in wrong ways, but it channels it in the right way, right? So the point being that al-ghayz, which is this rage, is a disease of the heart. Al-hazan, al-huzn, this again, sadness and grief, this is a disease of the heart, right? So all of these things, ash-shak, likewise, to be doubtful, is a disease of the heart, to not know whether it's this or that and to be in doubt. So all of these, this is fasad fil ilm, corruption in knowledge, ash-shak. So the point being that when we go back to Al-Fatihah, we see that within it is an indication at the end part of Al-Fatihah. There is an indication in the most beautiful and succinct of ways of the two types of diseases from which all other diseases spring, meaning of the heart. And they are fasadul ilm and fasadul qasd, which come back to ad-dalal and to al-ghadab. Then he says after this, so now we understand the asl of the diseases of the heart. How does Al-Fatihah contain the cure for both of these things? Right? Corruption in knowledge and corruption in qasd. Well, the first one he says, فَهِدَايَةُ الصِّرَاطِ الْمُسْتَقِيمِ تَتَضَمَّنُ الشِّفَاءِ مِنْ مَرَضِ الضَّلَالِ. So, the cure for corruption in knowledge is to say, اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. Why? Because we are now asking Allah for correct guidance, sound knowledge, which is knowledge of His revelation and the explanation of that revelation. This is sound knowledge. And so therefore he says, وَلِذَلِكَ كَانَ سُؤَالُ هَذِهِ الْهِدَايَةِ أَفْرَضَ دُعَاءٍ عَلَى كُلِّ عَبْدٍ وَأَوْجَبَهُ عَلَيْهِ كل يوم وليلة في كل صلاة لشدة ضرورته وفاقته إلى الهداية المطلوبة ولا يقوم غير هذا السؤال مقامه. He says, for this reason, this question or this request is the most obligatory supplication upon every servant. So the greatest, most obligatory dua for every servant to make is to say, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. It is the most obligatory in every day and every night, in every prayer. Why? Because of the severe need, the necessity and the need for the requested guidance. And there is no other supplication that can be found that can take the place of this supplication, right? There's nothing that can replace this simple, in Al-Fatihah, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. So this now is the cure for what? The cure for fasadul ilm, or for jahl, for ignorance, which is like corruption in knowledge. As for the other one, he says, وَالتَّحَقُّقْ بِإِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينَ عِلْمًا وَمَعْرِفَةً وَعَمَلًا وَحَالًا يَتَضَمَّنُ الشِّفَاء مِنْ مَرَضِ فَسَادِ الْقَلْبِ وَالْقَصْدِ. So now for the other disease, which is where you have a corruption in intent, then when you actualize the statement إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينَ in terms of knowledge, ma'rifah, acquaintance, action, amalan, and halan, meaning that this ayah becomes your hal, that this is how you are. You are worshipping Allah and you are seeking aid from Allah in that worship and in all your affairs. So it becomes a hal for you. When you establish that, this now becomes يَتَضَمَّنُ الشِّفَاء مِنْ مَرَضِ فَسَادِ الْقَلْبِ وَالْقَصْدِ. This now is the cure for the corruption in the heart and the corruption of the intent. Now, so once we've established this now, that Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim is the cure for the disease of the heart, which is fasad al-ilm, which is dalal. So we ask that from Allah, then we pursue the paths. And then إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينَ, which is ubudiyah and isti'anah. Then this now is the cure for the corruption in intent, in qasd. Now, Ibn al-Qayyim goes on to mention something very, very important. And he goes on to say, he says, فَإِنَّ فَسَادَ الْقَصْدِ يَتَعَلَّقْ بِالْغَايَاتِ وَالْوَسَائِلِ. Okay, so now we're going to focus a bit more on the fasadul qasd, corruption of intent. Whenever someone has a corruption in intent, then there are two things. It is the goal that he is seeking, the objective, which is the ghaya, the objective that he seeks, and it is the wasa'il that lead to it as well. All right? For example, simple example, someone might be seeking leadership, someone might be seeking fame, someone might be seeking indulgence in prohibited things. That's the ghaya. That's the objective. Then in between, so he has the qasd for that thing, which is a corrupt qasd. Then in between, there are the wasa'il that lead him to that objective. So likewise, he has to have qasd, he has to intend and desire and want the wasa'il that lead him to that as well. So there's two things. It is either qasd for the qasd for the ghayat, for the ends, and then the qasd for the means that lead him to that. So he says, فَإِنَّ فَسَادَ الْقَصْدِ يَتَعَلَّقُ بِالْغَايَاتِ وَالْوَسَائِلِ فَمَنْ طَلَبَ غَايَةً مُنْقَطِعَةً مُضْمَحَلَّةً فَانِيَةً وَتَوَسَّلَ إِلَيْهَا بِأَنْوَاءِ الْوَسَائِلِ الْمُوصِلَ إِلَيْهَا كَانَ كِلَا نَوْعِي قَصْدِهِ فَاسِدًا. So, in other words, saying generally that anyone who seeks an end, an objective, which is an objective which is going to end, it will perish, it is temporal, right? Meaning from the objectives of this world. Like you see the people of disbelief, they seek objectives. Basically, what are the objectives? It is either status, it is wealth, it is power or pleasure, right? So when you see the people of disbelief, Why are they upon their disbelief? Why do they reject the truth? What is it that's taken them away? Well, they're either after status, they want the position and the fame and the status among the people. They can't let that go, right? They won't let that go. Like the Quraysh, for example, they have the status of the loftiest, most noblest of the Arab, and Islam came, and so they don't accept Islam, right? Because honor is on the basis of iman and taqwa. It's not on the basis of lineage and whatever, right? So sometimes it is status, sometimes it is wealth. A person is unwilling to let go of the wealth, the riches, the possessions. Why? Because he has to give zakah. Why? Because he has to, and the wealth often is tied to other things as well, shahawat. So shahawat is another one, pleasure, the pleasures of the world. He cannot give up the drinks, the alcohol, the women, all the rest of it. And also it is power, just to have that power and authority. So these are some of the reasons. So these are ghayat. These are objectives and ends that people have, which are temporal. They will perish. They never last. They will dissolve and disappear, as the word used by Ibn al-Qayyim. And then, وَتَوَصَّلَ إِلَيْهَا بِأَنْوَاءِ الْوَسَائِلَ الْمُوصِلَ إِلَيْهَا. Then he finds all the ways and means. So if you look at these people, in general, people of disbelief, and likewise even among the Muslims, they have these diseases. They have the objective, which is the end, to have fancy cars and to this and that and the other. And then they have the wasa'il in between that lead them to those things. So he says, so whoever does this, كَانَ كِلَا نَوْعِي قَصْدِهِ فَاسِدًا. So both of the two qasds that he has here, for the ends and for the means, both of them are corrupt, right? So meaning everything he's doing now is just, it's a disease of the heart, it is corrupt. Then he goes, وَهَذَا شَأْنُ كُلِّ مَنْ كَانَ غَايَةُ طَلَبِهِ غَيْرَ اللَّهِ وَعُبُودِيَتِهِ مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ وَمُتَّبِئِي الشَّهَوَاتِ. Okay, so he says, this is the affair. So when you look at the mushrikeen, the polytheists, and likewise you look at those who follow their lusts and desires from among the Muslims, it means among the Muslims, those who have there's like no objective behind, there's no lofty objective, right? So you want power, you want fame, you want cars, you want women, you want this, you want that, you want this, what's the ghaya behind it? Like the wisdom, and there isn't anything, right? There's nothing behind it. And he then goes on to explain in a step-by-step way, how the people who have these ghayat and who have this corruption in qasd, the different steps they take in order to reject the truth and to avoid the truth, right? So remember, this is the disease of the heart that causes people to reject truth, to reject guidance, right? And so when they are pursuing these goals, the ghayat, like the wealth and the status, the power, the fame, and all these other things, the shahawat, then when truth comes to them, then they are averse to the truth and they take a number of steps. So he says, وَأَصْحَابِ الرِّيَاسَاتِ الْمُتَّبِئِينَ لِإِقَامَةِ رِيَاسَتِهِمْ بِأَيِّ طَرِيقٍ كَانَ مِنْ حَقٍ أَوْ بَاطِلٍ. Right? So basically all these are different types of people. The mushrikeen, the people of shirk and kufr, right? They have ends and means, ghayat and wasa'il, which are corrupt. Then you have those who follow their desires in lusts and pleasures. Then you have those who seek the riyasat, meaning those who seek the positions and the status, the power, who follow, they want to establish their riyasa, their leadership, through any way possible, whether it is through haqq or whether it is through batil. So he says, when the truth comes to these types of people, of whom he's given three examples, the mushrikeen, people upon shirk and kufr, the followers of their lusts and desires, or the people of wealth, authority, power. He says when the truth comes, which opposes what they are upon, then the first step they will take, like if it comes on the path, they will take it and they will trample on it. They will crush it and smash it. Right? So he says, طَحَنُوهُ وَدَاسُوهُ بِأَرْجُلِهِمْ. Right? So they'll just totally crush it and put an end to it, and that's it. فَإِنْ أَجَزُوا عَنْ ذَلِكَ دَفَعُوهُ دَفَعَ السَّائِلِ. If they are able to totally smash and erase this truth which has come, so they can't smash it, they can't put an end to it, now they are going to, oppressively and tyrannically, they will try to attack it. They will attack it. If they are unable to do that, فَإِنْ أَجَزُوا عَنْ ذَلِكَ حَبَسُوهُ فِي الطَّرِيقِ. Right, so if they can't fight against it physically and in that manner, they will then try to hold it back and restrain it from the path. If then they are not able to do that, فَإِذَا لَمْ يَجِدُوا مِنْهُ بُدًّا, like if they can't do that now, and the truth comes and it's there, so now what they do, they will give it, he says, أَعْتَوْهُ سِكَّةً وَالْخُطْبَةً. What he means here is, he means that they will give it like, they will speak about it, and they will give it like a token recognition, but their aim is to prevent it from being implemented. وَعَزَلُوهُ عَنِ التَّصَرُّفِ وَالْحُكْمِ وَالتَّنْفِيذِ. Right, so these are different ways in which people, and we can apply this to the people of disbelief, right? They will either want to crush the truth and erase it completely, no one's going to see it, it's gone. Or if they can't do that, and the people who convey it, they will then fight them to repel it, so it doesn't come onto the path of the people, so they encounter it. And if they can't do that, then what they will do is they will try to restrain it as much as possible. And if they can't do that, and it's there, they will speak with it, but in a way to kind of stop the people from actually. It's just token like speech. It's not like they will stop people from acting upon it and understanding the necessity of what it requires from them and from them as well. So, in other words, what's happening here? What's happening here is that we are looking at the hearts of the people who reject the truth because of corruption in intent, in the qasd. And because these people have a qasd, they have ghayat, they intend things other than the truth, other than servitude to Allah, and these things are things of the world. And these people could be the polytheists, the mushrikeen, right? They could be the sinners who follow the shahawat. They could be the people who seek riyasa. They could be the people who seek standing and fame. When the truth comes, what do? They take these different steps because of the corruption in qasd. By necessity, they have to repel the truth. And they do it in stages, whatever they're able to do. The first one, crush it, demolish it, out of sight, out of mind, gone. They'll try and do that. And if they can't, then they'll take the other lesser steps. So then he goes on to say, and he gives an example. He says, وَإِنْ جَاءَ الْحَقِّ نَاصِرًا لَهُمْ وَكَانَ لَهُمْ سَالُوا بِهِ وَجَالُوا وَأَتَوْا إِلَيْهِ مُذْعِنِينَ لَا لِأَنَّهُ حَقٌّ بَلْ لِمُوَافَقَتِهِ غَرَضَهُمْ وَأَهْوَاءَهُمْ وَانْتِصَارَهُمْ بِهِ. Right, so now he says, these same people, if the truth comes and it just happens to aid their cause, so if there is truth and it happens to aid their cause and it is in their favor, then they will jump and leap for this truth, right? Because they will submit to it, not because it's the truth. They didn't come to it because it's the truth. It's because it agrees with their objectives and their desires, and it aids them. And there's an example in the Quran. There's an ayah in the Quran in which Allah Azza wa Jalla, He mentions this reality. He says, وَإِذَا دُعُوا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ لِيَحْكُمَ بَيْنَهُمْ إِذَا فَرِيقٌ مِّنْهُمْ مُعْرِضُونَ. Right? So when these people are invited to Allah and His Messenger, that He may judge between them, then you see a people among them who turn away. So they're not interested in the truth. They don't want to know the truth. They don't want to know the hukm of Allah and His Messenger. And they don't want to accept the religion, and they don't want to. But وَإِن يَكُنْ لَهُمْ الْحَقِّ يَأْتُوا إِلَيْهِ مُذْعِنِينَ. But if they have a right, meaning that if the ahkam of the sharia give them a right which is due to them and they see it, now they will come rushing to the Messenger of Allah and they will want their right and they will come in submission, not because it's the truth from Allah, but it is because the ghaya, the objective, the end that they want is being fulfilled by a hukm from the ahkam of the sharia. This is why they are coming, right? So can you see, this now is fasadul qasd. It is corruption in intent. They have a ghaya, and so in everything they are doing, even though the right is theirs, the intent is corrupt all the way through, right? In the ghaya and even in the wasa'il. The wasa'il in this case is what? Let's go to the Messenger of Allah. Let's go to him. Let's, we submit to the hukm. We accept. Why? Because it's in your favor, right? And your qasd here is corrupt. It's not because you are submitting. It's because it is corrupt. So the corruption in the ghaya and the corruption in the wasila together. Then Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he goes on to say, wal maqsood. So what is the intent here? Wal maqsood, he says here, wal maqsood أن قصد هؤلاء فاسد في غاياتهم ووسائلهم. So the point being is that these people, they have corruption in their ghayat, in their ends, and in their means. وهؤلاء إذا بطلت الغايات التي طلبوها واضمحلت وفنيت حصلوا على أعظم الخسران والحسرات. So these types of people in the life of this world, the people of disbelief, who have this corruption, when these ghayat which they were seeking, whatever that might be, when they come to an end, when they are falsified and invalidated, when they disappear, right? At that moment, they will have the greatest type of loss, ruin, and regret. Right? And this regret, he says, وَهُمْ أَعْظَمُ النَّاسِ نَدَامَةً وَتَحَسُّرًا إِذَا حَقَّ الْحَقِّ وَبَطَلَ الْبَاطِلِ. So meaning that eventually, and this can happen in the life of this world, to many people, in the life of this world, and in the hereafter, and in the barzakh, there are moments when people realize that everything I was seeking, it is batil, it is false, it is, I've lost it, I'm ruined, I'm this, and then at that point they have this feeling of great regret and this grief and this, because the truth has been established and the falsehood has been invalidated. So he says, وَتَقَطَّعَتْ بِهِمْ أَسْبَابُ الْوَصَلِ الَّتِي كَانَتْ بَيْنَهُمْ. So even these people who are all together in these ghayat, the ends, and the corrupt wasa'il with corrupt intentions, even among themselves, all of the means of connections between them, they will be cut off as well. Meaning that they will, these ties will not persist because they were not ties of iman and taqwa and tawheed and so on and so forth, but they were upon this corruption, these corrupt goals and ends and objectives that they were all seeking. So then he says, وَتَيَقَّنُوا إِنْكِتَاءَهُمْ أَنَّ رَكْبِ الْفَلَاحِ وَالسَّعَادَةِ. So now they will realize that what they were seeking was false and it's all disappeared and vanished. Now they have no hope and of ever being happy and reaching success. Right? He says, وَهَذَا يَظْهُرُ كَثِيرًا فِي الدُّنْيَا. This often you see it among certain people in the life of the world, but even greater than that, it happens at close to the point of death. This happens even stronger when a person is departing and reaching Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَيَشْتَدُّ ظُهُورُهُ وَتَحَقُّقُهُ فِي الْبَرْزَخِ. When a person enters the grave, then it becomes even stronger. Meaning these people who die, they had ghayat, they had wasa'il to reach those ghayat. It was all upon fasadul qasd. And at the end of it, when they've realized that, when they've died and whatever, it's all perished, gone, and it's disappeared and vanished, now they have the greatest type of regret. And it gets worse and worse the later it is delayed. So at the point of, sometimes it can happen in your life, then it happens at the point of death, then it can be in the barzakh, it gets even stronger. And then, وَيَنْكَشِفُ كُلَّ الْإِنْكِشَافِ يَوْمَ اللِّقَاءِ. And then it becomes even, like the true reality becomes even greater on the Day of Judgment when everything is revealed. إِذَا حَقَّتِ الْحَقَائِقِ وَفَازَ الْمُحِقُّونَ وَخَسِرَ الْمُبْطِلُونَ وَعَلِمُوا أَنَّهُمْ كَانُوا كَاذِبِينَ. Right? So when the realities are established, and those who are truthful, they are successful, and those who are falsifiers, they will lose, and they will then know that they used to be liars. They were lying. Meaning they were lying in their intent, in their qasd, because it wasn't for the haqq. And then they will realize that everything they'd done was a lie. They were living a lie. They were lying. The qasd was a lie. Everything was a lie. وَكَانُوا مَخْدُوعِينَ مَغْرُورِينَ. Then they will realize that we were deceived by the world. And we were deceived. فَيَا لَهُ هُنَاكَ مِنْ عِلْمٍ لَا يَنْفَعْ عَلِمَهُ وَيَقِينٍ لَا يُنْجِي مُسْتَيْقِنَهُ. So he says, what benefit will there be now then? What point now is that? What will knowledge benefit you now? And what will the certainty you have now, the yaqeen, how will that benefit you now? You can have the, absolute certainty now, but it's not going to benefit you. So the point being, after all this, this is the nature of these people, right? To have fasadul qasd, which is a disease from the diseases of the heart, and from it comes all other diseases, right? So we said other things like al-hasad, we have al-shuh, we have al-bukhl, we have, al-gham, we have all these things, so that these people, when they have anxiety and grief, right, it's because you are seeking something false in the life of the world. And, a believer doesn't, a believer can have anxiety and grief in things where it is justified. A person dies, you are sad. You shed some tears, these things are fine. But here, it's when it becomes an actual disease. This is a disease now, which is not healthy for the heart. So these types of people who have fasadul qasd, right, and the wasa'il they are seeking in between to the ghaya, this now gives birth to all of these diseases that we mentioned earlier on, right? Al-hasad, al-shahwa, al-ishq, al-gham, al-ghayth, al-hazan, al-bukhl, al-shuh, al-hawa, al-jahl, and others, right? These emanate out of the heart, which has fasadul qasd. It has a corrupt intent, and likewise from corrupt knowledge. Now he goes on to say, continuing, وَكَذَلِكَ مَنْ طَلَبَ الْغَايَةَ الْعُلْيَا وَالْمَطَالِبَ الْأَعْلَى وَلَكِنْ لَمْ يَتَوَسَّلْ إِلَيْهِ بِالْوَسِيلَةِ الْمُوصِلَةِ لَهُ إِلَيْهِ. Okay, now we're moving to a different category of people, right? So the first category is people who have fasadul qasd, and the end goal is corrupt, and the means are corrupt as well, right? But here there's another category. He says, likewise the one who sought the lofty ends, the highest pursuits, meaning now this is someone who seeks Allah, seeks his tawheed, his ubudiyah, he seeks, so he's on the right ghaya. He's on the right ghaya. Likewise, in the life of this world, he seeks good for the people, he seeks all the right things. So here the qasd is good. But then he says, وَلَكِنْ لَمْ يَتَوَسَّلْ إِلَيْهِ بِالْوَسِيلَةِ الْمُوصِلَةِ لَهُ إِلَيْهِ. However, the means he is taking now, he's not taking the right means. Rather, بَلْ تَوَسَّلَ إِلَيْهِ بِوَسِيلَةٍ ظَنَّهَا مُوصِلَةً إِلَيْهِ وَهِيَ مِنْ أَعْظَمِ الْقَوَاطِعِ عَنْهُ. So this now is when a person, he takes means towards that lofty end, but he thinks it will make him reach there, but it is the greatest of barriers and impediments for him reaching that thing, right? فحاله أيضا كحال هذا وكلاهما فاسد القصد. Right? So really, both of these types of people, that one we discussed before, and this one, they end up really ending up in the same position, because it's corruption in intent. The qasd, in this one, he's seeking the wrong wasa'il. So this, like to give an example of this, just to show that someone could be, this would be the people of innovation, for example, Ahlul Bid'ah wad Dalal. They seek Allah, they seek the hereafter, and they take wasa'il that they think, like a Sufi sitting in a room, switching the light off and breathing and intoxicating himself and thinking he's in divine union with Allah. He thinks he's reached Allah, but he is the furthest away from Allah. He's not in divine union. Rather, he is in like a satanic union with the shayateen, because the jinn come to them. So the point being here that the qasd has to be good for the ghaya. It has to be good for the wasila. The wasila has to be correct as well. Otherwise, you will still not reach the goal. You will still not reach the goal, and you will end up far, far, far astray. So, what is the cure for fasadul qasd? We already said before, ihdina as-siratal mustaqim is the cure for fasadul ilm, for jahl and for dalal. And the cure for fasadul qasd is iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'een. Right? How and why is this a cure for fasadul qasd? He explains, he says that this, فَإِنَّ هَذَا الدَّوَاء, this treatment, this medicine, مُرَكَّبٌ مِنْ سِتَّةِ أَجْزَاء. Because this medicine here, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ, which is a medicine, there are 6 components in this medicine for the heart. 6 components. They are in sets of 3 sets of 2. Right? He says that first of all, ubudiyatullah la ghayrihi min sitt ubudiyatillah la ghayrihi. Right? So the first component is ubudiyah to Allah. There is servitude to Allah. That meaning you are serving Allah, you are enslaving yourself only to Allah. This is ikhlas, this is all the ibadah for Allah. La ghayrihi. Right? So it's got to be for Allah and not to any other. So these are 2 components. Ubudiyah for Allah and nothing for anyone besides Him. بأمره وشرعه لا بالهوى ولا بآراء الرجال وأوضاعهم ورسومهم وأفكارهم. So the second component now is it has to be with His command and with His legislation. Right? So the ubudiyah has to be with His command and legislation, not by what you feel, your desires, not by the opinions of men, not by their customs and traditions, and nor their thoughts and their ideas. Right? That's the third and the fourth. The third and the fourth. The Sharia, His legislation, His command, and abandoning the ara of the rijal and the rusum and everything else, customs, thoughts, ideas, habits, traditions, intellects, opinions, and so on and so forth. And the last set of 2 is isti'anatun wasti'anatun ala ubudiyatihi bihi la bi nafsil abd wa quwwatihi wa hawlihi wa la bi ghayrihi. And the third part has to be that you are seeking aid from Allah in worshipping Him, and not that you feel sufficient on your own, that yourself, that you are, just because you've got power and you've got ability, and, so you don't seek it from yourself and not other than yourself. You are making isti'ana only from Allah and not from anybody else. So, in other words, the ghaya, we have the ghayat and we have the wasa'il, and for that we have to have the good qasd, right? And the thing that treats the corrupt qasd is iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'een. The servant who remains within all of this, these things that I mentioned here, within what this ayah wants from you, the 3 things as opposed to the 3 other things, ubudiyah to Allah through His amr and through His shara', and making isti'ana with Allah. You do these 3 things and you keep away from everything else, meaning that you don't enslave, you don't make your heart attached to other things besides Allah, wealth, status, position, fame, so on and so forth, and you do not follow the opinions of men and their ideas and their rusum, their habits and customs, and you are seeking, and you don't rely upon other people, right? You're seeking it only from Allah. These 6 components, when you put them all together, it will make sure that your qasd, your whatever you are, the objective you are seeking, and the wasa'il, that it will remain healthy, and you will not have this disease. So he says, فَهَذِهِ هِيَ أَجْزَاء إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. Right? So these are the components of the medicine here, which is إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. Then he says, فَإِذَا رَكَّبَهَا الطَّبِيبُ الْعَالِمُ بِالْمَرَضِ وَاسْتَعْمَلَهَا الْمَرِيض حصل بها الشفاء التام وما نقص من الشفاء فهو لفوات جزء من أجزائها أو اثنين أو أكثر. He says, now when there is a physician, a knowledgeable physician who knows the disease, and so he formulates the medicine, he combines the medicine, then he gives it to the sick person. The sick person then uses this medicine, then he will receive a complete and perfect cure. Right? So in other words here, this is a medicine, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. All the components have been put in this, this ayah, right? And the Tabibul Alim, the one who knows the disease of individuals, meaning the diseases of the heart, then he gives them, he gives it to the ill person, and this person will receive a complete cure. And if there is any absence of cure, or it is not a full cure, what's the reason? Is because one of these 6 things is missing. Right? So if you are finding, like in yourself, that you are having issues with your heart, and you don't feel right, and you have anxiety and grief, and there's miserliness, or there's covetousness, or there's all those diseases, and you find that your heart is afflicted, well, there's something missing from these 6 things. You're not doing something right. It's not perfect ubudiyah to Allah, complete attachment to Allah. Maybe you're attached to something else still. Maybe the amr and the shar', maybe you're not making sure that your actions are acceptable to Allah by following the sunnah exactly, and you're doing something wrong. Or maybe you have the isti'anah, you're not making complete, total, seeking aid and reliant upon Allah, and you have attachments. So there's something that's there that's not right, which is making the cure not come to you. Right? Again, we are speaking here the cure for the diseases of the heart. So then he goes on after this, right? So we've spoke about fasadul ilm at the beginning. The cure for that is ihdina siratul mustaqim. And then you follow the wasa'il to remove that jahl and shak and things like that. Then we said fasadul qasd. The cure for that is إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. And there's different types of people. There are those who have ghayat and wasa'il in which the ghaya is corrupt and the wasa'il are corrupt. So you have a corrupt intention in both things, right? So we gave examples, the people of disbelief who seek the dunya, and sinful people, and so on and so forth. And so the cure for that is إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. And we see that the people who have corrupt intent, they will be the most remorseful in this life and in the barzakh and in the hereafter, because they knew they were living a lie, right? They were pursuing a lie. Many of the people of disbelief, you see them, what is their life? What are you pursuing? What are you after? Wealth, riches, things. And then even deep inside themselves, they know that they are suffering from the diseases of the heart, diseases of grief, anxiety. They don't feel content. They feel jealous of other people. How can I do one better than that one and this one? They're just plagued with all of these diseases. They come with corruption in intent. And so when these people, everything vanishes from them, or they reach death, or they're in the barzakh or the hereafter, they will have the greatest type of remorse and regret, and they will know that they were living, as Ibn al-Qayyim said, أَنَّهُ عَلِمُوا أَنَّهُمْ كَانُوا كَاذِبِينَ وَكَانُوا مَخْدُوعِينَ مَغْرُورِينَ. Then they will realize that everything was just a total deception. Where did it stem from? A corrupt intent. Right? Fasadul qasd. This is where it started from. And then with that fasadul qasd, all those, so the ghayat were wrong, the wasa'il were wrong, all these diseases of the heart came and entered you, that prevented you from the truth, from accepting the truth. So this shows that we have to cut off things from the very beginning, from their roots, from the very beginning. So then he goes on, so we've covered that, now he goes on to say that the heart can sometimes be subjected to another 2 diseases, right? So al-jahl, al-dalal is a disease, fasadul qasd, corruption of the intent is a disease, but there's also some other diseases. He says, ثُمَّ إِنَّ الْقَلْبِ يَعْرِضُ لَهُ مَرَضَانِ عَظِيمًا. then also the heart can be subjected to two mighty diseases. Now we have another two diseases on top of jahl and the fasadul qasd. He said, fasadul ilm, fasadul qasd. إن لم يتداركهما تراميا به إلى التلف ولا بد. If this person does not basically, restrain them and be careful, be on guard with respect to them, they will lead him towards ruin and destruction without fail. Without fail. What are these two diseases? What are they? وَهُمَا الرِّيَاء وَالْكِبْرِ. الرِّيَاء وَالْكِبْرِ. Two mighty diseases. Ar-riya, showing off, seeking to be seen, to be heard. Wal-kibr, which is arrogance. How is Al-Fatihah a cure for these two diseases as well? Right? So we've seen Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim is a healing, is a cure for jahl, fasadul ilm. We've seen Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in is a cure for fasadul qasd and the 6 components. How is Al-Fatihah a cure for these additional two mighty diseases? He says in the same ayah, he says, فَدَوَاء الرِّيَاء بِإِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ. So when you say إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ, you're saying that you alone do we worship. So this means ikhlas, means sincerity. It means that you are only, you lose sight of everything else and everybody else. There is nothing in your mind or anybody else that when you do a deed, you do it purely for the sake of Allah. You lose sight of everything else and everyone else. This is the cure for ar-riya. And وَدَوَاءُ الْكِبْرِ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينَ, which is that you alone do we, from you alone do we seek aid. Meaning that you, in your own capabilities, that there's no reason for you to be proud and arrogant and feel that you have the means, that you've achieved things, and even in your ibadah and your deen and your iman, you don't think, mashallah, look at how strong my iman is, and think that somehow it's because of you. No. The moment you start feeling that, this now is this is the disease of kibr. And so Iyaka nasta'in, it humbles you, it debases you, it brings you down, because you realize who is the real one, who is the one from whom you seek aid. Ibn al-Qayyim says, وَكَثِيرًا مَا كُنْتُ أَسْمَعْ شيخ الإسلام Ibn Taymiyyah رحمه الله قدس الله روحه يقول. So this is something Ibn al-Qayyim would frequently hear Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, his teacher, repeat often. He would say, بِإِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدْ تَدْفَأُ الرِّيَاءَ وَبِإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينَ تَدْفَأُ الْكِبْرِيَاءَ. He would repeat this often, right? His students would hear this from him. He would say, with إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدْ do you repel ar-riya, and with إِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينَ, from you alone do we seek aid, do you repel kibriya? Do you repel like the haughtiness, the feeling of importance and greatness? فَإِذَا عُوفِيَ مِنْ مَرَضِ الرِّيَاءِ بِإِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَمِنْ مَرَضِ الْكِبْرِيَاءِ وَالْعُجْبِ بِإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينَ وَمِنْ مَرَضِ الضَّلَالِ وَالْجَهْلِ بِإِهْدِنَا الصِّرَاطَ الْمُسْتَقِيمِ عُوفِيَ مِنْ أَمْرَاضِهِ وَأَسْقَامِهِ ورفل في أثواب العافية وتمت عليه النعمة وكان من المنعم عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم. So he says here, so when a person, he is cured of the disease of riya with إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ, and the disease of kibriya, which is haughtiness, arrogance, pride, وَالْعُجُبْ, and amazement, with إِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينَ, and with the disease of ad-dalal wal-jahl, which is misguidance and ignorance, with ihdina sirat al-mustaqim. So let's stop and think here. Look at all of the diseases of the heart which are being treated by these two verses, right? So we said there is al-jahl and dalal, which is fasadul ilm. We said there is fasadul qasd, from which spring so many other diseases of the heart. Then we have ar-riya, and then we have al-kibriya. all of them are being treated just by these two verses. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم, and before that, إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. So when a person uses this, so again, this is why that as we now recite Al-Fatihah, we have to try to be able to layer all the meanings, because in each ayah there's so many things. In each verse there's different things. There's layers of meaning stacked on top. And so somehow we have to be able to bring these meanings to mind as we are reciting slowly, and to use the mind to bring it to mind, because that's how you get the actual benefit and the cure. It doesn't come just by reciting by itself. It's from the ma'na, it's from the ma'ani. This is what is giving you the cure, right? So and we'll see that in the next section very, very clearly. So he goes on to say, so the one who treats himself in this manner from all these diseases by these two verses, he will be relieved and cured from all of his diseases, all of his illnesses. He will happily, like he will strut, meaning he will happily enjoy the reward of having like a clean, healthy heart, free of all these diseases, of afiyah. And the bounty, the favor will be completed upon him. And he will be of those upon whom is Allah's favor, not of those upon whom is Allah's anger. Who are they? Hum ahlu fasadil qasd. Right? They are the people of corrupt intention. الَّذِينَ عَرَفُوا الْحَقِّ وَعَدَلُوا عَنْهُ. Those who knew the truth and they turned away from it. وَالضَّالِينَ وَهُمْ أَهْلُ فَسَادِ الْعِلْمِ. And likewise, he will not be from the dhalin, the astray. They are the people of corruption in knowledge. الَّذِينَ جَهِلُوا الْحَقِّ وَلَمْ يَعْرِفُوهُ. Those who were ignorant of the truth and did not know the truth. Okay, so now all of this, it really brings us to the end of the part which relates to the shifa'ul qulub. Right? This is the first type of healing which is comprised in Al-Fatihah. It treats the foundations of all of the diseases of the heart. Right? It is fasadul ilm, fasadul qasd. Every disease of the heart that you can think of, like we mentioned many of them, right? They emanate from these things. And we could go into each one. We said, for example, al-gham, for example, why does this overwhelm the heart? Well, it's because of fasad fil ilm, right? Fasadul ilm. That you should have knowledge of Allah's decrees. You should have conviction in the decrees of Allah, that whatever was going to come to you was never going to miss you, whatever missed you was never going to come to you, that in every affair of the believer there is good, whether it's something likable, something dislikable, right? You have to have conviction in all of these things in this ilm for you to be able to handle the calamities and difficulties that come to you, so you can process them and understand them through your iman and through your yaqeen and through your knowledge of Tawheed, Allah's names, Al-Qadr, and so on and so forth. So you can process it in your mind, and the gham does not settle in your heart, right? Why are people overtaken by grief and anxiety and the type that is not healthy? It is because fasad fil ilm, right? And so we could go through each one and explain how in each one, al-jahl, hawa, shuh, bukhul, hasad, shahwa, ishq, gham, ghaid, hazan, and so on and so forth, shaq, all those different things. But now you have the basic principle, right? You know that it goes back to either fasad fil ilm or it is fasad fil qasd. So you yourself can go back and you can think about each of these things and think, well, how is there corruption in knowledge in, for example, al-ghayth, al-hazan, al-shahwa, right? You have the means to now go back and to do that on yourself. But coming back, so all of this was to do with the disease of the heart. Now he's going to move into the body, right? How Al-Fatihah is a cure for the body. And so this is like the amazing part.